This program is brought to you by realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. With more properties for sale than anywhere else, we make it easier.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at this week's auctions. There are about 1,700 homes scheduled to go under the hammer. That's up 4% when compared to the same week last year. New South Wales has 724 auctions scheduled. That's up 39% when compared to last year. 118 of those auctions are in regional New South Wales. Victoria has 552 auctions scheduled, with most of them in Melbourne. Queensland has 232 scheduled, with 121 of them in regional areas. South Australia has 114 scheduled. That's down 38% when compared to last year. Western Australia, Tasmania and the Northern Territory have 9 auctions between them, and the ACT has 54 auctions scheduled. Take a look at the most viewed properties going to auction this week. New South Wales top property is 10 Waddle Crescent, Hornsby Heights. This 5-bedroom home has 3 bathrooms. Asking price is about $1.1 million. Top property Victoria is at 3 Dobell Court, Scoresby. This spacious 4-bedder sits on about 1,100 square metres and has been recently renovated. Asking price about $1 million. Queensland's top home is 32 Ilford Street, Gordon Park. This newly built 5-bedder is painted white inside and out, comes with a pool and backyard. South Australia's top property is 19 Maud Street in Clapham. This 3-bedroom family home has an asking price of $820,000. And the top property in WA is 31 The Avenue, Crawley. This Italian Riviera-style townhouse is located just near the University of Western Australia in Perth. And the most viewed property on the REA Group website this week is 20 Byways Drive, Ringwood East in Melbourne. This home's called the Hegarty House and was the last home designed by Robin Boyd, the famous Aussie architect, before his death in 1971. Boyd was one of the leaders of the mid-century modern movement in Australian architecture. The home gazes out to the Dandenong Ranges from its elevated position, has an abundance of natural light, high ceilings and various living zones throughout. It has changed hands twice since it was built, once in 1974 and then again in 1997. The home is largely in original condition. Agents are hoping for a sale between $900,000 and $990,000. For more on the property market, I caught up with Angus Moore from REA Group a little earlier.
There's kind of 2 things coming into this weekend. One, it's school holidays, which does tend to be a little bit quieter, and 2, it's winter, which we know is typically the quieter part of the year for auctions. That said, we've seen reasonable volumes kind of through autumn and into the start of winter. It hasn't been as busy as we were seeing in spring 2021 or early 2022, but it's certainly been stronger than what we were seeing late last year, and that's been reflected in conditions as well. Clearance rates have been solid, buyer demand on realestate.com.au has been solid, and that's been supporting prices.
Your clearance rates tracking around 70% still. Seems pretty high, really.
Yeah, it certainly is. Again, it's maybe not as strong as the really red hot conditions we were seeing in spring 2021, but it's much better than what we were seeing through the back half of last year when the RBA was raising interest rates 50 basis points every meeting, and we were seeing auction clearance rates look pretty soft. Things have certainly firmed since then.
What about time stock is spending on the market at the moment?
It has picked up a little bit compared to, say, 12 to 18 months ago, but if we're looking over the broader sweep of the last 3 or 4 years, it's still better than it was pre-pandemic. So, again, a bit like clearance rates, a bit like volumes, it's not as good as what we were seeing 12 to 18 months ago, still better than pre-pandemic.
And just in general terms, property prices, they still on an upwards trajectory?
Yeah, we've certainly seen prices start to recover this year, and with strong clearance rates, strong demand, we're kind of expecting that's probably going to continue for the next few months. Conditions are such that we'd expect to see tailwinds for prices. Of course, the big headwind and the big unknown is interest rates. We have seen a slowdown in the pace of interest rate increases, which has certainly improved conditions for buyers, I think giving them a bit more confidence than what we were seeing maybe late last year. But it is an unknown, how much further the RBA has to go and will kind of dictate what happens to prices later in the year.
Let's talk rental market. What's happened to rental vacancy rates over the last couple of years or so?
Yeah, it's been one of the big stories in rental markets is just the significant decline in rental vacancy rates. So they've gone from sort of 2.5–3% pre-pandemic, which is what we might consider more normal, to 1.5% today nationally, or even lower in some places like Adelaide and Perth. And there's kind of 2 things driving that. One is we're just seeing fewer properties hit market. So fewer properties becoming vacant, tenants are staying longer in their existing rentals. Fewer vacancies means lower vacancy rate. And then the other thing that's happening is when we see properties become vacant, they're leasing much quicker, which means, if it's taking less time, it's sticking around on market for less, you're not going to see as many vacant at any given point in time. And both of these things have mattered. Both of them have driven the decline in the vacancy rate and kind of roughly equally been important in terms of that fall.
And that demand for rentals with that low vacancy rate, what's it actually done to the price of rents to rent around the country?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is it's gone up a lot. We've seen very quick growth in rents over the past 12 months or 18 months really at this point. We're seeing year-ended growth rates in the order of 10% in a lot of parts of the country, which is, I think we can agree, pretty brisk. And in part, that's why we're seeing fewer properties turn over, or at least is part of the story. If advertised rents have increased enormously, it becomes pretty unattractive to leave your current rental because it's hard to find one and they're a lot more expensive than where you're currently renting.
And with those rents going up so much, is that sort of encouraging investors now to start buying back into the property market again after being sort of out of the market for quite a long period of time?
Yeah, we're certainly starting to see that. Obviously, higher interest rates has kind of pulled back lending activity and property activity broadly, but investors are a larger share of new mortgages and new purchases than they were during the pandemic. And importantly, what we're seeing today on realestate.com.au is that the number of new rental properties hitting the market is more than the number that are being sold. So the rental stock itself is actually growing again, which is normal. That's what we expect to see. Population, number of dwellings all grows over time. We'd expect to see the number of rental properties increase. That wasn't what happened during the pandemic, though. We were seeing them sell out. We're not seeing a lot buy in, and that decreased the size of the rental market.
Okay, just quickly, next week, RBA cash rate on Tuesday. What's your prediction?
Always a dangerous territory. I think we'll probably see another increase, though I wouldn't be shocked if we didn't, if they waited until August when they'll update their forecasts and, gives them an opportunity to kind of lay out where they see the economy going. But I think we'll probably see one in July just because inflation does still remain too strong. We had the monthly indicator of inflation out this week. It is just that. It's an indicator. It's not the full kind of CPI basket. It doesn't cover everything that the ABS tracks, but it's a pretty good indicator and it showed that inflation's still too high. It's moving in the right direction, maybe not as quick as the RBA would have liked, but I think that in that environment, we'll probably still see another interest rate increase from the RBA.
Angus Moore, thanks for your time.